Hey kids, it's the Piston Fly here, hope you're well. Out and about on another Kawasaki review today on a glorious, very cold but bright winter's day. Today I'm on the much requested Kawasaki Versys 650. This is a bike that a lot of people have asked me to review. I rode the bigger brother, the Versys 1000, a few months back. Really like that, so looking forward to getting to know this one in the next half an hour or so. So stick around, stay tuned. I'll give you my first impressions review of the Kawasaki Versys 650. So my very first impressions of the bike, having just jumped on, is actually what a comfortable and large machine it is. I mean, for a 650, in my mind, although it's ridiculous these days that you regard a 650 as maybe a sort of mid-size or smaller motorcycle, and as I say, it's ridiculous, isn't it? 20 years ago, it would have been a beast. But actually, it feels, you know, size-wise, nice and big, plenty comfort. This is one of those sort of bikes that isn't perhaps the most exciting in the world, but is one of those bikes that you would consider if you just need practical transport. So if you're doing a daily commute, you need something to get you to work, then this is definitely a bike to consider. Or indeed, if you've just passed your full test and you want a bike that is going to be your first big bike, as it were, then definitely worth considering something like this. Right, all clear behind. See, plenty enough power just to overtake if there's some slower traffic. I would argue that you really don't need more than a 650cc if you just need a form of transport. It's always nice, isn't it, to have excess power on one of these big bikes with a 1000 or 1200cc engine, but actually day to day you can't really access all that power on the road. And if you just need to get about, overtake slower traffic, etc., 650 is plenty. It's all clear. Nice rumble about the engine on the Versys. This is a parallel twin, unlike its bigger brother, which of course was the 4-cylinder machine. Even though this is a twin though, it's still nice and smooth. There's not lots of rock and roll or rumble as you ride her. Just quite a pleasing soundtrack when you wind her up. Okay, so let's go through the practical aspects. I've already talked a little bit about the physical size of the bike, the fact that it feels quite a big machine, even though it's only at 650. It is very comfortable, nice big padded seat. Handlebars nice and wide, nice and upright. In terms of my seating position, I am of course upright. My legs are, or the knee joint, just shy of 90 degrees, a little bit of an acute angle, but nothing extreme. You wouldn't describe it as a sporty position. You could sit on here all day and not get any backache or any troubles like that. The mirrors seem really close to me compared to what I'm used to, but they work really well. There's no terrible vibration, and I can see well behind me. I'm not just looking at my shoulder or anything like that. On both sides they work really well. Bit of an odd shape, not sure I like the design of them, but they're certainly functional. Gearbox feels nice and smooth. Just changing up and down through it now to see how she feels. Yeah, no clunkiness there. It is of course a brand new bike, so you'd expect it to feel nice, but it does feel very nice. And the clutch itself, I would say it's neither super light nor very difficult to pull. It's kind of in the middle, no problem there. Handling wise, see, I think the bike, we'll go through the specs when we do the walk round in a minute, but the bike is something like 218 kilograms, something like that, but it doesn't feel heavy at all. I mean, I would say that's a sort of a, you know, middleweight bike. It's not heavy nor is it light, but it feels light when you're on the road. Certainly no top heaviness or anything like that. Just checking if I get my feet down, so I'm on tiptoes either side. I'm 5'8" with I think a 32-inch inseam. People always ask me that, and I haven't really measured it, so it varies a bit. But I'm not a tall fella, and I can get my feet down on the balls of the feet, as you saw, nice and easily. Not intimidating at all, this bike. It doesn't feel top heavy. Doesn't feel like you're going to drop it or anything like that. As I say, an ideal first bike to sort of learn your craft if you're stepping up from a 125 or a 250. I think we've got a green light there, yes, little filter light, goodness me. Not the best traffic lights ever. Oh, come on, Mr. Jaguar. Handling on it is lovely, actually. It goes around the corners a treat, feels nice and light. Right, I've got nothing behind me, let's just test the brakes. Yeah, front brakes are absolutely fine, not outrageously eye-popping, but not bad either. Front does dive down quite a bit when you give it hard on the brakes. Let's just try that again, nothing behind. Yeah, she does pitch a bit when you brake at the front. Let's just try the rear brake. Yeah, rear brake feels quite good. Nothing fancy about this bike, it's just a good old honest motorcycle. There's no riding modes, there's no traction control, but it does have ABS. Obviously for the Euro compliance. Everything's nice and straightforward in terms of layout of the instrumentation and the switchgear. This windscreen seems to work quite well from a weather protection point of view. I'm not feeling any buffeting on my chest or my shoulders, which is nice. A little bit of buffet just at the very top of my helmet, but it's not horribly turbulent or anything like that. And this screen is adjustable, manually adjustable. You can't do it on the move. There's a couple of fasteners at the front that you undo and you move the screen up and down. It's very simple to use, but you have to do it when you're stopped. Suspension on the bike, kind of out of the crate. I suppose you'd say it was on the soft side. If there's kind of a scale with hard at one end, soft at the other and a middle bit, this is just on the slightly on the softer side of the scale, but not to a point where it gets all out of control on the corners, or at least I haven't noticed that yet. Quite a busy old day out here actually today. It's absolutely freezing today. It's the weather forecasters have been saying it's going to be one of the coldest weeks of the winter, so great coming out of the bike. It's actually, I think it's 4 degrees at the moment, which is about as cold, 4 degrees centigrade that is, which is about as cold as I like to ride. Anything less than I'll take the car. Well, let's find somewhere if I can up here to stop and show you around the bike. In fact, I've done some walk-arounds here before. Let's just pull her in here. Has a gear indicator, gear position indicator in the simple layout, which is rather nice. Part digital for speed and then analog for RPM, which is rather nice. Okay, stand. Right, let's have a look then. So here we are, Kawasaki Versys 650. I think a handsome looking machine. Nice in the black as well. Alright, let me try not to get killed because I'm on a busy road here. I'll get the other camera out and we'll do the walk around and I'll talk you through the specs as usual. Right, here she is then, the Versys 650. Let's just pop my visor up so I can get some air. So in terms of specifications, as I say, she's a parallel twin. 649cc is actually the size of the engine. Puts out 69 PS, had to look that up. That's 68 brake horsepower in the old money at 8,500 RPM. As I say, I think that's actually ample real world for the road. In terms of torque, 64 Newton meters at 7,000 RPM. And again, she doesn't feel underpowered whatsoever. Brakes wise, we have a look at the front. We've got these rather splendid looking pedal discs. These are 300mm discs at the front, 2-pot calipers, and at the rear you've got the single 250mm disc with a single pot Nissan caliper on there as well, and they work perfectly adequately, as I say. Suspension wise, on the front, 41mm upside down forks. I wonder when we're going to start thinking of those as normal way up forks, because everybody has them these days, don't they? It's got adjustment for preload on the top here on the left. See under there, the green adjuster. And then it's got rebound on the right. Very clever the way they've done that on each of those forks. So adjustable at the front. The rear, it's got a remote preload adjustment. Where's that? There we go. There it is. So here's a splendid Kawasaki green spring, and there's the remote adjuster for that as well. So, but fairly basic suspension, but it feels absolutely adequate. Seat height on here, 840mm, which sounds quite high, but again, because of the shaping of it, if you look, it's nice and narrow at the front here. You can actually get your feet down nice and easily, so it doesn't feel high at all when you're actually on the bike. Weight 217 kilograms wet, so in fact it's quite light given it's that's the wet weight. Tank capacity on here, 21 litres, so quite a big old tank, which very useful. The website says you'll get 56 miles per gallon out of it, so that's a range of about 258 miles, so that's pretty impressive. Electronics wise, as I say, very basic bike really. It's got ABS and that's about it. It does have what's called an eco riding indicator, which just lets you know when you should shift for best fuel economy, but that's about it. Electronics wise, price £7,099 on the road, and it comes in this colour, or a white, or matte green, or candy lime green is a bit more expensive. That's the classic Kawasaki colour. That's £7,249. That's just about it. What else to tell you? Oh, let's show you the adjusters for the screen. So these are the screen adjusters. You literally just undo these, and then the screen slides up and down really easily. So that's actually a very simple way to adjust the screen. Quite like it, although obviously you have to be stopped to do it. It has a gear indicator, as I mentioned. Oh, and it comes, you can get panniers for this, and this uses what Kawasaki call the clean mount pannier system. You see here, you just got these slots that they go in. It means you don't have to have all that sort of massive scaffolding to adjust or to put the panniers on, which is always useful. All right, that's enough of the spec, I think. Let's jump back on, do some more riding. Oh, excellent. What I do like about it, for such a big looking bike, it doesn't, when you get on it and you have to move it off the stand like that, it just feels very light up top. There's no horrible weightiness. It's not a real yank to get off the stand, which is really nice. Right, I think let's visor down, and yeah, she sounds really nice. Okay, nothing behind me. Feels really nice on the corners, and as I say, much lighter feel to it than it looks. Right, let's turn around this little roundabout here. Must just take this chance while I remember to thank Rob and the guys up at Blade Motorcycles in Abingdon for lending me the bike once again. Very kind of them to make their demos available to me so I can bring you these first impressions reviews. If you've not been up to Blade at Abingdon, check them out. Very easy to get to, just off the A34. And not only do they sell Kawasaki's, but Hondas. There's a Harley Davidson dealership, Ducatis. They're all there. Great place to go and have a little mooch around. One thing this particular bike doesn't have is heated grips, which would be very nice. I don't honestly know if they come as an option on here, but either way, obviously you can get them fitted as an aftermarket thing. I think I'd definitely do that. It's uppermost in my mind at the moment, purely because it is such a cold day. Beautiful day for riding though. Good to see on the instrument panel we've got a proper fuel gauge, something that so often is missed out on bikes for some inexplicable reason. Proper switchgear on the bike as well, you know, it's the real solid stuff. It feels nice when you use it. Because you are sitting so upright and high on the bike, you've got a great view over traffic as well. As a commuter, this would be excellent, just plotting your way through if you're filtering or whatever. Right, this is my chance. Just as I have to slow down again. Typical. So competitor wise, I suppose the things that come to mind as competitors for this bike, natural competitors, would be things like the Suzuki V-Strom 650, another bike I rode a few months back and liked very much. I think it rides very similar actually to the V-Strom. If you're in this market, then ride them both and see which takes your fancy. It feels very, very similar. Maybe this feels a little bit lighter to ride than the V-Strom, and personally I like the looks of this more than the V-Strom, but that's just a purely personal point of view. And I suppose the other bike that would be the natural competitor for this would be the Yamaha Tracer 700. Again, another bike that I've ridden. I personally don't much like the look of the Tracer 700, but again, that's purely a personal view. This feels to ride more like the Tracer than it does the V-Strom, because it feels nice and light, whereas the V-Strom feels a bit more planted on the road. Yeah, it's got a lovely sound, this twin cylinder engine. And this is with the standard pipe, which I think I would keep if it was mine. It's got a really nice sound to it. Okay, so there we have it. That's just about it for my initial impressions review of the Kawasaki Versys 650. Very nice bike. All new bikes are nice. People often criticise bike reviewers for not saying nasty things about bikes, but you know, there is nothing nasty about this bike. It is a simple bike. It's not exotic. There's nothing complicated about it. It doesn't have riding modes. It's just a basic, proper motorbike. I can see absolutely nothing wrong with it at all. I usually like to be nitpicky and find something, but there's nothing about this bike that I can find that isn't good. The brakes work well, the mirrors work well, it's comfortable, it sounds nice, the screen works well, the weather protection's good. There really is nothing not to like. If you're in the market for one of these types of bikes, as I say, if you're moving up to your first big bike or you want a reliable everyday commuter, then definitely worth checking out. Like it very much indeed. So that is just about it for this time. Thanks very much for watching. If it is your first time to one of my videos, then thanks very much for watching all the way to the end. I don't just do bike reviews, but I also do things like trips and tours. I do how-tos in my garage, how to look after your bike, maintenance, that sort of thing. I also do product reviews. Basically anything and everything to do with motorcycling, I try and cover it if I possibly can. And it'd be great to have you along if you hit the subscribe button. That way you can make sure you don't miss any of my videos, and if you hit the little bell button, you'll even get a notification to let you know when I post up a new video. It'd be great to have you along again in the future. Okay, that's it for this time. Hope that was of some interest, and I look forward to speaking to you again soon. Until then, this has been the Mr. Fly. Cheerio.